Hmm. Are we live? Welcome to Cash Talks Football on a Monday night, the Monday night show, where for the first 20 seconds I figure out if I'm live before I go into the topics, which I'm going to cover tonight, which you can see over here. I like Daniel Levy, Marcus Rashford, England. That's old school football. A bit on Manchester City, a little bit on old Real Madrid. Also, a lot of your comments. I'm going to talk about those as well. Um, and if we've got time, we'll do a little story time with Cash about some of his random things. Like I might drop a Tiger Woods story later on today. We'll see how it goes. Because yeah, we've got lots to say about that. That'll be very interesting. And if you're a Tiger fan, um, yeah. So first, let's get into this Daniel Levy. He obviously has gone, and it's completely sort of upset the apple cart here for a lot of people in sort of a couple of ways the they're talking about how much money Spurs has made and how sort of sustainable now Tottenham is, and that sort of stuff. Which, quite frankly, I don't think anyone cares about. If you're a football guy, like, who cares? Do you really care if your club's making money? No. Does it need to? Yeah, but it comes at a price, and I think there's a lot of things that people aren't being honest about with Daniel Levy and you know what he's actually done at Spurs. So yeah, okay, he may have. Let me just check that we are live. We may have. Oh, we are fantastic. So he may have made them profitable and whatever, but at what cost? When you think about him leaving White Hart Lane and what that's done to the football club, it's huge. So when you leave your sort of, your actual football club, and sorry, football club, your old stadium, and you're in for one of these new generic stadiums, like the Etihad generic stadium, Arsenal, they've got a generic stadium. Old Trafford's not, but they want to move to a generic stadium. You lose all of that history and all of that focus, and you can't ever get it back unless, of course, you create more history by winning trophies and winning cups or competitions and that sort of stuff. Well, in the new stadium, they've not done that. So if they're not doing that, then you've got a bit of an issue. You've got a bit of a problem because all of a sudden you're just in another generic stadium. Your fans really don't care where you are, and you've got Beyonce concerts and bloody NFL games in it. So what are you, a football club or just another entertainment thing? And all the passion for your football club goes to the wayside because, well, who cares? It's just a thing. And I think that's what Daniel Levy was running it like. He was doing this business. Bear in mind, he's doing it because he's told to, right? He's following a mandate that's set to him. So he's trying to make money for a football club so then they can do X, Y, and Z. But they never did X, Y, and Z. They never really invested in their squad heavily. They did a bit, but mostly they were selling and they were just so difficult to do business with. No one really wanted to. So he brought lots of problems. But it doesn't matter if you've actually made all this money and you've done this thing with this new stadium to have NFL games in it and all this revenue. If you don't use the revenue and you don't use all those things to actually get success on the field, and that's the important thing, he has to get success on the field. If he doesn't, well, what's he doing? And that's where I think the biggest sort of disconnect is. Oh, let's just put him down here while we're chatting about Daniel Levy. Um, that's the biggest sort of disconnect, I think, is that if you're going to do it, you've got to actually do more than that. You've got to achieve something. And he didn't achieve anything. Getting a stadium and some money doesn't really count for football because in 20 years' time, no one's going to care about the stadium and football. What they want to know is, well, actually, it was interesting. I can go back to, I can't remember the date. It might have been it's when Liverpool won the Champions League against Tottenham. And I can remember one of the only times I ever tuned in to listening to the Prats on TV. And it was Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, those two clowns going at each other. But for once, I heard Carragher say something completely sensible. And of course, Gary Neville didn't understand it because he's an idiot. So what he said, Carragher, was now they need to go invest heavily in the squad. And Gary Neville was like, no, they got to the Champions League final. Why do they need new players? Well, because that was the platform they needed to build on. And next year they needed to get better. And if they don't, they won't make the Champions League next year. And I think that was the same year Pochettino left because he knew it. He understands football. He understood that his team was good enough to get to the Champions League final. He had all the players there. Then he needed to add more to go to the next level and push on and push on. And that was never Tottenham's ambitions. It was just to be there or thereabouts. Because by the seams of it, just being in the Champions League was good enough for the owners. Oh, I didn't know Cash did a Monday Night Football show. Yes, I do. Well, no, sometimes I do it on a Tuesday. And it's called Monday Night Football Show on a Tuesday. So, but yeah, good to see you, buddy. I'm doing a Daniel Levy rant about the problem in football is whether, there's so much. Like, when you've got these generic stadiums and you've got these NFL games and all this other nonsense going on inside of it, you're taking away from the football. And I don't care what you're trying to say or how good the businessman is. If you have got this generic stadium, just like the Etihad, just like even the Emirates, to be honest, and your focus is filling that with Beyonce and, NFL games, you're not focused on Spurs. It's just another thing that you're doing. And getting rid of Daniel Levy, I would have done years ago if I was, at Spurs, if I was running the place, because there isn't any ambition for them to win the league or to win a European trophy. And I go back to that one time when they got into the finals against Liverpool and they didn't buy anybody that year and Pochettino left. You just lost a great coach, manager, and your squad didn't get better. So you couldn't recreate the success that you had the year before. Well, because you lost your manager, now you're back to square one, and then you get someone like a Jose Mourinho in, whenever that happened, and you just kick him out the door, and you go for the next one, and you kick him out the door, and you get the next one. And none of us Tottenham made any sense. Like, when I was a kid, Tottenham were always the team that you didn't want to face in the FA Cups and any cups because they'd beat you. They had enough talent in their team to beat anybody. The only thing that they always lacked was having that talent consistently performing through the season. But on a one-off game, they'd beat you. And they'd win FA Cups, and they'd always be there. You just, not again. But in the league, you weren't so fussed because they'd have too many off days. But now they're just a run-of-the-mill average club with a lot of money. Who cares? And the fact that these sports pundits and other people are going, but they've got money. Who cares? Who cares they've got money? They finished like 17th last season. That's who they are. Like, Newcastle have got more money than them. Like, who cares? They finished 17th. That's where they are as a football club. And I don't understand this sort of nonsense where people are looking at Beyonce concerts and all this other stuff and trying to say that he's done a good job at the football club. He hasn't. He hasn't done a good job at the football club. But he's made them profitable and he's made them a lot of money. And that was his gig. Well, he's done a good job on that side of things. So it all does depend on which side of the platform you fall down on. Is he there to make football good or the business good? Well, he's done well on the business. So, yeah. But I think that's a very dividing topic there, old Daniel leaving. But we've got a couple of other things I want to talk about. I've got my old Coke here because it's a little bit too hot in my room. Sup, Jamesy? How you doing? So, one of the questions I was asked in the little topics page, by the way, on the Patreon now, there is a chat room and you can go there and spout nonsense about football. Isn't football fixed now? It's always been fixed. The top four have got the money and the wealth, and yeah, it's always been the case. Actually, so let me comment a little bit on that. It's interesting. So football's always been fixed, but people don't. There's many ways of saying football's fixed. Okay, I just say it's fixed because it's easier. But when we start breaking down the details, let me explain to you a lot of ways that football's fixed. So, for instance, when Man City first started coming on the scenes, I think this player's name's right, because when a lot of this was happening, I was so deep in football. And when you work in football, like I have for so many years, you don't know what's going on. Like, you don't get your head up. Unless you're working in the Premier League, you don't know what's going on in the Premier League. You know what's going on in your league because you don't have time to pay attention to anything else. And I think Man City had a good sort of season. And I think that if I'm right, it was this player called Steve Sidwell, and Chelsea bought him. And he didn't play for him. He basically just sat on the bench. So that's how a lot of they fix football. So what that means is, so you've got a team that's doing well and it's up and coming. They've got a couple of good little players that's really making the difference. They're never going to start for the top 2 or 3 sides, but they're getting 40k a week, and and someone comes in with a big money move for 120k a week, triples their wage, puts them on a 5-year deal, and it destroys that football team. That football team that was building something with there's 3 key players, they lose 2, and now they're just, they've dropped again. and it'll take them 2 or 3 years to build up. They'll get 1 or 2 more good players. They'll steal them, boom, and they'll drop again. Um, it's entertainment, not sport. Yes, it's a business, not a sport. It's all fixed. 100. Yeah. Well, I can get into the all fixed. 100%. 100%. Don't get caught up in the not like. There are a couple of outliers. And you know the outlying clubs because there's one out there that I'm going to name it, Nottingham Forest, that they don't play by the fixie rules. They don't like to. That's why Nottingham Forest were in so much trouble and got points deducted because they're not playing by the rules. There's a couple of chairmen out there that are really sort of like, okay, well, I'm going to do what I want. I know I'm in part of the cabal because I'm in the Premier League for a start. Remember, the Premier League's a corporation. It's not a league. You've got to remember that. So when you actually go up into the Premier League, you've got to buy the shares off the company coming down. It's how the parachute payments work. It's how they can structure everything legally. So it is a corporation. Remember, all the shareholders are the clubs. That's why they all vote. They all get an equal vote. So there's a lot more that goes on like in football than people really understand. There's so much dodgy dealings with agents and players and all sorts of stuff. I can remember when I was a kiddie growing up in America. I was a 49ers fan. And John Madden used to say, you can tell an NFL player when he's coming into the last year of his contract because he'll have the best season of his career. And then he'll get another 3-year deal. And you can see that in football. When people sign big money deals, they don't play great for the first. Well, normally they play great for the first year because they're all excited. But for the next 2 seasons, they'll drop off until that contract needs to be re-signed. And then they play again and they go. It's... the English Premier League Corporation, you've got it. And that, by the way, that gets even murkier. When you start realizing so if you've got the English Premier League Corporation, what's the FA got to do with that? Okay. So this is one of the topics I was talking about 2 weeks ago with the new government body in the UK regulating football. So they're going to regulate who? The corporation? Well, the corporation's already regulated. It's a corporation. All corporations are regulated. So what are you regulating? Does FIFA oversees the FA, but the FA oversees the Premier League? The UEFA oversees the Premier League, so is the Champions League. Who oversees who? When you actually look at the web of who oversees what, none of it makes sense. And that's why I keep saying the Super League is going to happen. Because it is sports entertainment, because these are billion-dollar franchises. They're not football teams anymore. Remember that. Tottenham was a football team when it was at White Hart Lane. Arsenal was a football team when it was at Highbury. When they all start moving to generic stadium, and corporate branding and all this other nonsense, everything changes. Everything goes out the window. So I have a feeling because this corporation of the Premier League is losing so much money through TV and ad revenue, because that's where they get it from. They get it from all of Sky Sports subscriptions throughout the world. And that revenue's gone down, like, I think 60%. I think it went down 42% last year, and God knows how much a couple of years ago. But they've lost about 60% of their TV revenue rights. TV money coming in. And because you've got things like the Saudi League, which are just dumping obscene amounts of money in it, if they can put a Super League together and get a Saudi team, and they get Real Madrid and Barcelona and Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich with Paris Saint-Germain, keep all the cabal happy, they'll do it. I don't think they won't do it. Views on the demise of Man U. I do have Man U put up in the thumb title because I do want to talk a little bit about Man U. Manchester United, right, I'm going to tell you something that nobody talks about, just like always. So Manchester United pay 40 million in debt payments every year, right? Well, it's not 70 million. Every year they pay 70 million out to debts and creditors. Do you know who those debts and creditors are? Give me a guess in the comments while I have a sip of my Coke. Let me know if you think you know who the debtors and the creditors are that Man United paid 70 million to. Oh, you're not that late, buddy. Well, I'm just going on a rant about Man United right now. Well, you can't find out. If you try searching who they pay to, you won't find it. So here's what I think's happening: is the Glazers are taking their shares and the dividends the dividends out with their shares, and then they're paying themselves through 2 or 3 financial companies the 70 million extra every year. So they're probably clearing out 200 million a year out of Manchester United, maybe more. because no one knows who those creditors are. Well, no one knows if it's the Glazers financial companies. And it might not, I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be that the Glazers own the financial company. What it will be is the financial company will have an investors, and those investors will be the Glazers. They won't own it, they'll just be investors in it. And they won't own more than 32%, because if it's more than that, then that will get flagged on the FCC filings, because it will cross-reference Man United on the FCC filings. So as long as they don't go past that threshold to 33%, it won't be flagged. So I guarantee you, oh, by the way, they can still do it with one or two companies that they own, both by 32%. That way it won't get flagged, and they'll own 64% of the financial company that they're getting 70 million to. And I guarantee you in a couple of years, well, make it after the Glazers sell Man United, people are going to find out that's what's going on. That's why the Glazers aren't going, because all the debt is owed to the Glazers through a financial company, and they're getting the cash cow out on the other side as well. And people are, the fact no one's asking the question, it's like, well, who do we owe money to? It's like every country is in debt in the world to billions, trillions. Who do you owe the money to? I know. Do you know? You all can't be in debt. Someone's got to be raking the benefits. So it's the Man United destruction of Man United is kind of interesting. But there's also because I was doing a mind map of it, right? When I was breaking down all of the talent cycles, the 10-year talent cycles that happen. So if you don't know what the 10-year talent cycle is, think of it like this. Your under 10s start, and in 10 years, they're under 20s. Okay? Now they're in your first team. So you've got 10 years of that talent cycle. That gives you, if you're coaching the under 10s at Barcelona's academy, you get to play every under 10s team in the world and get to see where all the best talent is. And by the time they're 20, you know all the best talent in the world and you know where they are. If you haven't done your job properly. Now, there might be some outliers of some South American teams, or you haven't picked up a North African player here or two, but you know. There's a couple of reasons, because they all play international football, so you're going to play them internationally, so you all know, okay? Most YouTubers are obsessed with talking about players when it comes to clubs, but don't have the capacity to talk about finance. They don't have the capacity to talk about players or finances. Most YouTubers really don't know anything. They're getting, like, I could have 100,000 views on subscribers on YouTube by going, they're going to sack Arteta. Arteta's terrible. Oh, they're awful. Oh, the Arsenal are terrible. But it's not who I am. And you're not telling the truth. You're not if you're not here to help people and educate people, jog on. You know, we talk football, we talk specifics. If I'm wrong, it's not going to happen. I'll say it. But when you're right, you back it up and you show people why you're right and you explain it so then they can go and educate other people about what's really going on. Don't forget that apart from the busy and Ferguson. Well, actually, okay, so I'm going on this Ferguson stuff, right? So I've got this whole equation I've working out in my brain. I'm starting to put it on paper. It's in one of my videos. You can go and find it. And it's a complete way to understand and create a football dynasty for 20 years. And it's about the 10-year talent cycle. So when your players are coming up into the first team, because I'm telling you now, you think of this equation. You do not buy Mbappe and Haaland and win a league. You add Mbappe and Haaland and win a league. Think about that for a second. You don't have a team and you buy them. You have a team that's already there. Then you add them to it. If you're buying them, you've got to add players. It's a different way of thinking. You've already got to have the structure in place. And it's what Chelsea are doing. Chelsea have got a solid team. When they add a couple of superstars, world beaters, they'll be really good. So you have to think about that. You've got your young talent coming up. So you're always trying to keep a focus on that. So you've got to think about your squad, right? How many of those young players are there? How many players are dynasty players, you're going to have in your squad? James Milner. You'll also take James Milner in your squad because he's on time at training. He'll call everyone accountable in the locker room. He trains perfectly, and he's a great role model for everyone. So that type of player you need to have in that squad there. You need to fixate it, okay, and your wages is going to go to it. So you need to look at all of the team and see how many players are project players, old guard, on top of their game. You know, who's the world beaters, the really good players in that 24 to 28 range. And there's a whole thing about being 24 years old. I don't know if you know. the male brain actually stops developing about that time, and it's fully cognitive aware of what's going on. So when people say, oh, they're coming into their playing cycles at 24, it's the reason, well, it's because their brain's caught up with what's going on. You can actually have a conversation with them. They're pretty, now they're starting to understand what you've been telling them for 10 years of coaching. So United, when Ferguson left, had a solid, absolutely solid team ticking all those boxes, because I thought he wouldn't. I thought he dumped off and he left right at the right time when the squad was dead. I was going back and I've got it listed out. You'll see it in one of my videos. I've got all of the squad from when Ferguson left, all of the players, and I go down and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty spot on. Ferguson left them in good shape. The problem was, after that point, they were mismanaged, and the whole club couldn't understand the fact that they weren't winning, thought that they were just legacy and could just buy good players in, Pogba's and all these things. And you can't. That's not how football works. And they kept going and doubling down on the well down to destruction. And the big red flag to me was one player that left. And I think his name was Herrera Hernandez. He went to PSG. And I looked at that player in midfield and I thought, he's not good, but you want him in your squad every day of the week. That guy runs and runs and runs and runs, wins the ball and gives it to someone. He runs and runs and runs, wins the ball and gives it to someone. He's not going to beat a player. He's not going to make a worldie pass, but what he is going to do, run and run and run and win the ball and give it to someone. And I think it was in Mourinho's years when he was there. And he left, went to PSG, and I was looking at it going, Mourinho's going to get fired. Way before all the Pogba drama and all that, because the club didn't understand what they were doing with their actual team, and they didn't get it. And at the time, let's be fair, Mourinho was one of the best coaches in the world. And if you're arguing with the best coach in the world and telling him he's wrong and you're firing him, it's probably your club. It's not the coach. And clubs don't think like that. They just don't. So that's going to bring me on to Marcus Rashford a little bit. Let's just bring him up, because him at Barcelona, to me, this is what I call, this is why you know, right, what we're talking about with football being all dodgy and fixed. Marcus Rashford is not a good football player. He hasn't been for ages. Absolutely ages. Was sold during whose era? Ollie's era. Oh, was he? Okay, yeah. But that type of player, United needed two of them in midfield to stable their midfield and then give it to their creative players. Like, to me, he was just brilliant. Like, but he was bad. Like, you can't have a whole bunch of commandos running around the field doing what they want. Sometimes you just need squares to stand and be squares. And he was a square. He was a perfect example of it. He wasn't good. He wasn't bad. He was just right. Sit there, do that job. Yeah. But older Rashford is the exact same thing. When I say this name, you're going to go, oh, yeah, Neymar. Exact same type of thing. Neymar. All hype, no delivery. There's nothing there. Hasn't achieved anything. Hasn't done anything. Gets obscene amounts of wages. Doesn't really play good football. And everyone thinks he's really, really good for some reason. Why is it that most young players are allowed some reckless activities? I thought they would be old man to guide them. Well, there isn't really any old men around anymore. Oh, yeah, Rashford doesn't have useful legs anymore at all. Well, you've got to understand, most people are idiots. And I mean that all lovingly, but they are. Most people are absolute morons. You know, like, genuinely don't think. I go back to the NFL. If you look at the NFL statistics, 40% of NFL players are bankrupt within 3 years of becoming millionaires. It's a little bit better, actually, since like 2018, I think. But that's the standard. And you're going, well, why isn't there someone to help them? There is. They just don't listen. They just don't care. Okay, there's a different attitude to being the best thing in the world at your profession. So I might be a little bit cocky, right? I might be a little bit, blah de blah. But you have no idea how cocky I used to be, because I was better than you at everything, And guess what? I even wasn't the cockiest one on my team. And that's how it is. So when you're trying to tell these young players to do stuff, or these older players are going to do something, Uh, Neymar at least had the end product. Yeah, but he didn't. He didn't. He had the end product when he was at Barcelona, not when he left. Not when he was at PSG. Maybe 1 or 2 games a season. He would always have a highlight worldy goal. He'd always score 10 or so goals, but he wouldn't score 25, 30 goals a season. Neymar wouldn't. But he was fun to watch every now and again, and he would get kicked every now and again. But he's just the same as Rashford. So when I call people Instagram players, Rashford and Neymar are what I'm talking about. They care more about worldwide popularity, more about their brand deals and what they can do, instead of what they're doing on the football field. Neymar, not that football's fixed and corrupt, but he went there for what is the place surprise team in the Premiership this year? Palace. No, I don't think it's gonna be Palace. I don't think it'll be Palace. I think it's going to be like a Sunderland. Yeah. See, I think it's going to be a Sunderland or like a Leeds or a Burnley. I actually really do. I don't think anyone will be surprised if Nottingham Forest do well this season. I don't. But I think one of the lesser teams coming up will surprise people. I really do. I think they're going to have a run of like maybe 4 or 5 games unbeaten at some point, because there's a lot of tat in the Premier League. And I think some of them are going to get exposed this season. But let me just finish my point on the Instagram players. The fact that Neymar would almost visit his sisters, even if it was, oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, Neymar was he was just poor. No, I don't think the Forest manager will last next international break. To be fair, I'm surprised they haven't fired him now. I really am, and I like him. The problem is the owner there at Forest is ruthless, and he's annoyed the owner, and he doesn't build bridges back. He just fires you. He's not interested. He doesn't work like that as a human being. He loves you when you're loyal. If you say a little word to him, he just fires you and moves on. Couldn't care less. But Rashford, to me, the fact that he's playing for England, that's why I'm putting these here, because we're going to go on to England in a minute, which is an awful embarrassment, international football as a whole. But Rashford, to me, is the pinnacle of a media-made player. If you go look at Rashford's goals and assists figures, actually, I might do a video on it in the. I say that, I'm not going to, you know me. I'm not going to get the time to. I might do it in the next Man United video. I do actually show his statistics. Neymar is a Justin Bieber. Yeah, photo shoot footballer, 100%. Oh, yeah, I think he's a great tactician. Nuno's is a great tactician. Well, think about what you're saying there, Justin Bieber players. I call them Instagram players. They're just products. They're not players. They sell shirts. They can't play football. Rashford can't play football. He runs a bit and he kicks a bit. Has he got some pace? Used to. Last, 4 seasons, he hasn't scored more than 10 goals. Just think about that. I think there's one season where he got above 10 goals and he got like 24 or something under Ollie. Had a good season. Actually, I think it was more than that. I think he got like 27. But other than that, his numbers are rubbish. When your job's to score goals, guess what's important? How many goals you score. 100%. Instagram personalities. They want likes, clicks on Facebook. They want to start their own podcast. They want to do their own clothing label. Buy my aftershave. Rashford. It stinks like me. That's what they want to do. But it's I don't know. But that's the sort of modern way of footballers with it's all to sell shirts and tickets to entertain you. In wrestling, they call it the heel. If you notice, there's always a heel in football. There's someone everyone's badgering. Maybe it's Darwin Núñez for Liverpool. Everyone's having a go at. But you can see it more and more in football. With the age of social media, I mean, who was that player? Someone actually did it. There was a player back in the day who got $1 million contract, million pound contract, and he couldn't kick a football just because of the hype around him. And the guy couldn't play football. He finally got on the football field and they went to watch him in a game and he was rubbish and he couldn't play. But they'd already given him £1 million. It happens all the time. Rashford's more allergies than. Yeah, I'm going to look at that, James. I'm going to put that in my next Man United video, I think. Well, no, see, like, not worry about Lindegaard. Like, sorry, there's lots. The problem with Rashford, he's the same sort of thing where people get annoyed with players like him and Neymar because they see so much talent wasted. They see the potential of what he should be, and they actually see what he is, and that's the biggest disconnect. And both players have the same sort of attitude: is that they don't work for their teammates. And you know as well as I know, if you were given that opportunity, you would do everything for your team. So when he doesn't, and he's a petulant child, and then he's moaning on going off to America, like, or what did he do? He lost against Man City and went out to a nightclub. You don't do that. You just don't do that. You know, and the reason why you don't do it is because you're a professional footballer, and everyone that supports your club, they don't want to see you out partying and enjoying yourself. They want to see you down in the dumps. If you go and win, they want to see you out enjoying yourself because you earned the right. And that goes on to one of the things that I don't even know how to word this, so I'll just start talking about how to fix the Premier League. They'll never do it because they just, what you do is you put in a wage cap. And the wage cap simply does this. You can only earn $100,000, £100,000 if you lose a game. That's the most you can be paid. However, if you win a game of football, you get paid whatever you want, whatever your contract says. If you want your $350,000 a week, Rashford, and we win the game, you can have that. But if we lose, you only get a flat rate of 100 grand a week. The players like Rashford, or even Isak, even though he wasn't, by the way, Isak wasn't on strike. I found that out. That was all nonsense from the media again. He wasn't on strike. He was willing to play for Newcastle. It was all rubbish. But if you told those sulky players and those injured players, well, if we lose, you only get your 100 grand and not your 350 grand. Watch the Antonys and the Rashfords and the Garnachos at Manchester United start playing football properly. That's what I would do. Completely change the Premier League because it only affects the top six clubs, the bottom six. Sorry, from 6 and below. They don't have anyone on 100 grand anyway. So it wouldn't affect them, win or loss anyway. They'd still pay the same wage. All the top money baby clubs, the cartel that doesn't exist in football, they'd all be affected. But all of their players now would have to play properly. You're talking about Georgie Best in the later years when he was paid to... well, yeah, but that's different. Football was different back then. Actually, whoopsie, I did the wrong thing. Yeah, I do know what I'm doing. No, I don't. I haven't got a clue. I'm going to talk a little bit about international football. Does anyone care about international football? Like, at all? I just think it's the biggest joke, waste of time that there is. Like, when the World Cup came around, I couldn't even be bothered to watch half the World Cup because it was just a bunch of nothing games until the quarters, the semi-finals. And England faced against Andorra and won 2-0, and they scored 1 goal. They're playing a pub team. And if you're an international football team, you should be able to beat a pub team like Andorra. Oh, come on, Belarus. Yeah. It's like... And a lot of this, again, is because coaches, they can't actually coach at this level. Right, so there's also a little bit different. So let's talk about the fundamentals of what you need to do to win a World Cup, and then the actual play on the field. So I've worked in structures like this before, like in Olympic development programs, where you only get certain players for certain times of the year, and you've run certain specific camps, and you're scouting those players all season and make sure that you've got the right mix of players for when you get them for those 6 weeks and that sort of stuff. And it's a completely different way of coaching. Okay. So if you're normally managing a team week in, week out, right, it's completely different than just picking players in for 6 weeks. When you've got those, German has no idea. Yeah, oh my God, absolutely none. FIFA is going to experiment in dynamic. What? Dynamic ticket pricing when the World Cup begins instead hosted in America. Basically, they're worried that no one's going to show up because it's in America, so they're going to panic. That's what they're going to do. When you're building a team for a tournament, for the World Cup, right now, and I'm going to really harp on about someone like Reece James and Harry Kane. If you aren't 100% into Harry Kane being your goal scorer, you don't need to be playing him right now. Reece James isn't going to make the World Cup. He's going to be injured. You cannot have him in your squad. You can't have a Dan Burns in your squad. You can't have a Jordan Henderson in your squad because they ain't going to the World Cup with you. You cannot play like that now. You're building your team camaraderie for next year. You can't have these players around. If they're not going to be in your squad, which they're probably not going to be, you don't want to make the phone call to tell them, oh, by the way, yeah, Jordan Henderson, yeah, I know you've been with us for like the last 9 months, but we're not taking you to the World Cup. What? Who are you replacing me? Oh, we're replacing you with someone else who hasn't played with us for the last 9 months, doesn't know how our system is, hasn't really got a clue of what we're doing, but we're taking him instead. Like, what? That's how you have to think. Who am I taking? Hansi Flick. Oh, yeah. You have to think long term, and you have to think in the fact that you want players that you know are going to be playing on form. So what does that mean? They're playing week in and week out for their club. So you know when you've got them, you know they're a known quantity. They're a known asset. You know exactly what they're doing. I agree. Tuchel's selection says it all already. Yep, England haven't got a chance to the World Cup. You've got more chance of Harry Kane being injured for the World Cup than England winning the World Cup. So then who's going to score your goals? Well, you're in trouble because your system is all over the place. Marcus Rashford's not the answer. You wouldn't have him in anywhere near your squad. But this is the interesting thing. You've got someone over here at Real Madrid, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who can give you assists for goals, who can put the ball on Harry Kane's head, but he's not in the squad. So what are you doing with Reece James? Like, when you start making simple deductions like that, Thomas Tuchel and the German managers, great at coaching clubs, but international football is something else. You're not trying to make a good team. You're not. You're trying to make a team that doesn't lose, and then it can get some form. And so think of it this way. You know, in a year's time, right, you need to be able to be strong at the back, hard workers in midfield, and score some goals. So you need to get all of those pieces and those components, and you keep playing with those pieces and components until you get the mixture right. And hopefully you get that mixture right before the World Cup starts. Right, that's what you're really trying to do. And on top of that, I firmly believe that Tuchel has already lost the dressing room. Yeah. I firmly believe he's lost the dressing room as well. And I'll tell you why in a second. Which is the most important part of international football. 100%. That team needs to believe in you. And when you cut down Burns, you're going to cut some other. That's their mates. Remember that. So Jude Bellingham's got a huge influence in that dressing room. Who's his best mate? Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's why Trent moved. And he's not playing him in England. How do you think Jude Bellingham, the leader in that dressing room, is going to react? How do you think that is? No worries, buddy. That's the important thing. It's like you think about. Right, so there was this thing where people were getting mad back in the day that they were picking a lot of Man United players or Liverpool players or Arsenal players, right? Well, because they played each other week in, week out in the club, and they knew how each other played. So sometimes, is it right to say, well, Trent gets to play right back because his best mate plays in centre midfield? No, it's not. It's not the right thing to say, but it is the right thing to say because it keeps him happy. And does it mean he gets to start every game for England as a right back? No, it means you put him in the damn squad because one, he's probably good enough. Well, he is good enough, let's be honest. And two, he's coming from Real Madrid with his best mate. Gareth Southgate was too weak, though. Yeah, 100%. It is a mixture. You've got to have sort of a strong sort of dressing room presence, but strong enough to say, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, shit down, you stupid little child. You ain't scoring for me, so you ain't playing for me. That's what you need to have. You need a bit of both. You have to be their friend. And also, so because I've done a lot of things wrong in coaching, I know how to handle it. What you end up doing is you make some sessions really, really ruthless coming up to the games. So they know as soon as the game's coming on, you ramp the pressure up. You as the coach start raising the intensity, and then the game is their release, boomf, and they go. All right? That's how you do it. So you're pretty much relax all the way through the week. As it starts getting, you build it up, and then you let them go on the field, boom, and beat the other team. Because it's like Andorra and Slovenia, no one cares. If it was Portugal and or Brazil or Italy, everyone for England would be caring about these games. But it's not. It's a bunch of no-one teams. It's not preparing them for the World Cup. It's going to be a rubbish tournament, and England are going to do terrible. And I'm going to be here for it. Mourinho would have been ideal for. He would have been. Mourinho would have been really good for England. I think he would be really, really good. He knows his stuff. He knows what it's to win a tournament. He understands it. Hello, Joey C. How are you doing, buddy? I might do a Tiger Woods story later. Story time with Cash today on Story Time. Yeah, but international level, it is very, very different. And the fact that you've just got to, I don't know. So let's put it this way. You've got a tournament at the end of the year, the World Cup. You have to build that team all the way around to the year to get to that point. Hitting the, you don't have to hit the, the ground running, but be close to it. Have your starting 11 ready to go. Understand who your defensive back four is. Like, I wouldn't be having John Stones in my squad because he's going to be injured. You can't have John Stones. You can't have Reece James. You can't have Rashford. You can't have probably Harry Kane and anyone else that's injury prone. You can't have them because when it gets round to the business end of the year and you're going to look around and you've been building all year with a bunch of players that you just don't have. Hold on, guys. I'm going to be back in about 30 seconds. I've just got to take care of something at the door. Sorry about that, guys. Completely sorry about that. I don't think I've ever run out on a live stream like that before, ever. Not going to happen again. Not going to answer the door next time. Go away, people. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. So I was about to prattle on about. Oh, one of the let's just finish some of these the comments and mentions because someone asked me about what my favourite formation is, which is quite interesting. Let me get rid of some of this and see if I can. Should have been Clough's, wouldn't it? Yeah, probably. So let's see if I can remember how to use this thing. Right. Oh no, that's definitely not what I want. Okay, so this is my favourite formation. This isn't the normal way I set up teams, but when I can, this is how I set my teams up. And yes, it's going to sound crazy, but it's so much fun. People don't know how to deal with it. Okay, so this is your centre back. This is your left back. This is your right back. They're attacking wing backs. You play with two midfielders. They're sitting. This is your triangle. Normally, these would be your two centre backs, and you have a sitting defensive midfielder. Do it the other way. This is my right winger. Sorry, that's my left winger. Actually, this is my right winger. And up front, I have one in the space, and I have two strikers like that with this other striker running in. Three strikers up front in the middle. No, Hoddle's a terrible manager. Absolutely terrible manager. Absolutely terrible. I'll tell you about in a minute. Let me just finish off my amazing formation. So basically what I'd do is my left back and my right back would attack. So would my left winger and my right winger, and would overload. We basically have 5 up front, 4 in midfield, 1 central defender back here, and hope and pray that the other team doesn't work out. They can kick the ball into these corners here and score goals on me, because they never do. Like, that's all they'd have to do is kick it. They'd beat me. Mike Bassett's England manager. Yeah, it would be brilliant. It would be brilliant. Yeah, so if you want to see who Glenn Hoddle is, go watch the England documentary. Sorry, the David Beckham documentary on Netflix. And go listen to David Beckham talk about what Glenn Hoddle and how he managed the team and what a complete and utter prat he was. He was always complaining and moaning at the players that they weren't good enough. And they couldn't, and he was asking them to do things that no player could do on the field. Because Glenn Hoddle could make that pass, he wanted them to make that pass, and they couldn't do it. And he's a complete and utter nightmare for them all. Like, yeah, so, I mean, it's hugely important. And that's one of those things with ex-pros getting involved in teams and things. Their ego's too big, and they just really don't know. You're always coaching to the lowest player, not to the highest player, okay? Because you've got to get the lowest player up a bit, and if you get him up a bit, he pushes everybody up massively. Yeah, it's actually... It's actually quite interesting listening to old David Beckham talk. He has some good Real Madrid stories as well. It'll change your opinion on David Beckham. I promise you, it really will. Okay. Talked about Rashford a little bit. What else was in the comments? Oh, yeah, we're talking about old school football in a minute. Talked about my formation. Yeah, okay, so we're going to talk about old school football and why the Premier League is so bad today. I don't know about you, but I just find the Premier League really, really, really dull to watch. I mean, good. That's what happens when you open the door. You let it fly in. There isn't very many good games. You didn't watch Arsenal, Liverpool enthralled by the game. It was just rubbish. And every single time one of the top teams plays one of the top teams now, it's just a bad game. That was never the case. Ever the case. They were lung busting. Everyone was trying to win the game of football. Everyone was trying to be the hero. Everyone was running forward, attacking. It was great football to watch. There was passion. There was all sorts of skills on the field. There was a thing called Showboat back in the day on Soccer AM, where they'd show off players doing skills on the weekend and making someone look stupid. That doesn't exist anymore. That isn't there. It's just about, are they playing in their shape and formation and passing the ball where they need to pass it? And even that's wrong, and even that's boring. Football has completely changed in the past 10 years. Absolutely gone. And I also believe a lot of that is to do with the business side of it as well. So, for instance, when I was in China working for Man City, I didn't say that. There was this, a lot of the times I told you when I was with the national teams, I can't believe how expensive it is and how people can afford £70 a ticket. Oh, yeah, train fare, fun. Oh, yeah. Or it's even worse. I meant to clip it up for the last World Cup. Okay, Gav Marcotti at ESPN. He's a big fat man, journalist. He's one of these other people. His whole life is talking about football, and he does it for ESPN. He's never kicked a ball. Can't run. If he was doing a food vlog, I'd listen to him because he knows his Italian food really well. You know, he knows what restaurants are and how to order food. I'd listen to him all day long. He said on live TV that the World Cup's not for you. It's for people like me. He said the average person can't take 2 weeks off work and traipse around following the England national team and afford tickets. It's not for them. It's for people like me. Openly told you football's not for you. He's telling you the truth. That was 4 years ago he said that. On live TV. Imagine like that should have been like national news in the footballing world. All the YouTubers should have jumped on it and gone, what do you mean football's not for the working man? Football was made by the working man. That was the whole point. I think Liverpool-Everton's rivalry started because Everton wouldn't let the dock workers play because they were the office workers, and the dock workers weren't allowed to play with the office workers. So they started their own football team, Liverpool, because the working man wasn't allowed to play with the office man. So they've completely destroyed it. Football's completely gone. That's why I keep harping on about the Super Leagues coming, because old football's disappeared. Tell you what, go back and watch some of the old Champions League games. Watch the difference. There's no passion in the Champions League games anymore because no one cares. We've got 8 games, we win 4, we're through. Doesn't matter. It's completely changed. It's completely changed nowadays. I do want to talk about... Oh, no, doing it wrong again. I'm really good at this. Do want to talk about Man City. So Manchester City have done $1 billion deal with Puma. Okay. Now, here's where it gets really interesting legally. Think if they get found out on their 155 charges. That means they've got an overinflated, price on their company assets. That company asset has just been leveraged to get a deal for £1 billion based on fraud that they committed back here. Well, alleged fraud. The alleged fraud of 115 charges, allegedly, back there. If they're found guilty, that's why you know they're not going to be found guilty in the Premier League. I thought it was because the Anfield LLC lost Everton to a trend. By the way, it could be both. It could be both. The problem is that happens over time. Stories just change. I've heard all sorts. Back in the day because they're both. Everton used to play on Liverpool's ground. They sold it, didn't they? But both were playing there at the same time. There's all sorts of stuff. So think of this, right? You know Manchester City are not going to be found guilty of those 115 charges. How do you know that? Puma would not done $1 billion sponsorship deal over the next 5 years with them if that was going to be found out. So let's do the math on it. Why do we know that? Who owns Puma? Well, it's a French company. Well, it's not a French company. It's a French bank that owns them. And that French holding company owns Puma, Barclays Bank. It's one of the massive, it's a massive company. They aren't going to allow £1 billion to go out to an asset that's going to be devalued if they found guilty over here. So they already know they're not guilty. Does that make sense? Because they already know that this asset is going to hold its value and price. Man City is going to hold its value and price in the next 5 years because we're giving them £1 billion. We aren't. It's £1 billion. You're not doing $1 billion transaction. £1 billion, transaction. I think $1 billion, £1 billion, I'm not sure. One of the two. Transaction without knowing the ins and outs of everything. They already know that. Sky Sports money will fall off. It already has fallen off the cliff. Oh yeah, but that's the problem. Sky's already dead. That's the problem. Already problem. Yeah. Why did Everton think they were charging too much rent? Because they were the office workers, the managers, and it wasn't fair. Wouldn't surprise me, Joey. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, so you know Man City are not guilty. You know it's going to be the case because you don't do a $1 billion deal with a company that's got a lawsuit with another company, Premier League company, Man City company, doing a lawsuit with each other with an independent regulator if you don't already know the outcomes of that independent regulation. They'd be holding on to sign that paperwork until it was public about that deal. Sorry, about the 115 charges. So you know that they're not culpable for those 115 charges. Just know it. And I don't know if you know this, most of the big corporations and companies like that, they all know each other. So I worked with a guy and his roommate, and the reason why I know about that French bank and Puma is because we did a deal with Puma, and he was his college roommate, and his college roommate was his friend's dad, and everybody knows everybody. What happened to Man City? If I don't think anyone will care. It's not. Subscription overseas aren't the growth market, Joey. I'll tell you why now. For you to pay what we would pay in the UK to watch the Premier League, okay, you would be paying just for the Premier League games. You would not get Bundesliga. You would not get La Liga. You would just get Premier League. You would not get Champions League. Just to watch that, you're paying $84 a month. That's how much you'd pay in dollars. $84 a month. So unless you can tell me that you're happy to pay $84 a month for Premier League games. Oh, by the way, that's not all Premier League games. You miss 180 of them because they cannot broadcast them in the UK at 3 o'clock. And there's 180 games a season at 3 o'clock that you cannot watch in the UK. If the UK audience stops paying the exorbitant prices that they do for Sky Sports, there is no market. It's gone. You can pay all your $14.99s a month overseas and it won't catch up because there's so much money spent in the UK on football. Oh, Mason Greenwood. You know what? I don't really have any thoughts on Mason Greenwood as a footballer or as a I don't. No, I try again. It's drama. Show me how he played last week, and we'll talk about how he played. You know. Yeah. So the overseas growth market. I've actually did a chart on it as well. So like in India. Okay. So in the United Kingdom, it costs equivalent of £4.19. So about $5.50 to watch a Premier League game. In India, it costs 19p. So the gross market overseas of 19p compared to the, £5 whatever it is to watch a it's £4.93, so about $6 to watch one game. You cannot get enough 19p's to take that one subscription for that one English person. It's not. Already pay 4 subscriptions to watch 4 out of 5. Can't see La Liga. Yeah. But you see, the problem is, it's enough's enough. If you figure out online where you can go and you can pay 60 quid a year to watch it, which there are places, and you can watch all of them, that's what you'll do. Why are you going to pay all these? You use a VPN and you'll pay 60 quid for the whole year and watch everything. And that's what people are doing. Piracy always happens when it happened like in music, okay, where they made it so difficult for everyone to buy stuff, everyone started just pirating everything. Until Spotify came along, and that just killed piracy because everyone could just get it for free. It was easy. Oh, we watch a couple of ads, yeah, whatever. But football's going that way. But I don't think football, because they're so greedy, will understand that they will kill football. They will absolutely kill football. They're going to have their own streaming service. It's going to be just like Netflix. You're going to subscribe to it. There'll be La Liga on there, Bundesliga on there, Premier League, Super League, sorry, Champions League, and it'll be their own streaming platform. You watch. It's funny how you can get arrested for illegal streaming. Oh, yeah, you can get arrested for anything in the UK. You can get arrested for anything in the UK. Well, watching football is about 95% of the games, 5% is on TV. It's very boring. Yeah, I agree with you, James, on those other factors. Like, right. It's also, as I say, they're not good games of football. I couldn't wait to see Champions League games because they were brilliant. I'm going to go and watch. They're just boring. They're genuinely just boring games. Oh, yeah, same thing. NFL's a classic example. How many subscribers have left the NFL, the red zone and everything? Yeah, absolutely gone. Requires several subscriptions to watch. People just quit. They're not going to do it. And because, of course, you've got that regional thing in the United States as well, where like it'll be on ABC for or NBC, MSNBC over here or ABC for free, and then in the actual city where the team is supported, they've got to pay for it. It's like, well, no one over here wants to watch it. They want to watch it. So yeah, it's all madness. Yeah, it's all madness. Shall I wrap up with the Tiger Woods story? Oh, I'll save it. I'll save it for another time. It's 9 o'clock. I'll go on. We'll be going too long otherwise. Yeah, I think that's about time, boys. If there's anything else, though, I'm going to put up a. It's almost. Of course, it's a Ponzi scheme. Welcome to sports entertainment. Yes, yes. The best matches Where it ends up the lower league matches. I'll tell you what as well. Watch Sunderland, watch Leeds this season. I think you have some great games there. They're going to be really good to watch. Really good. Because they actually care. The forum is open on the Patreon, guys, so you can actually just tap away on the forum. So I might start a Monday night thread in there so we can start adding topics that we can talk about. Oh, you want Tiger Woods story? Nah, okay. But that's... Okay, so I know a lot of people. I've had a very, very different life than most people. I'll tell you my Uncle Tiger story maybe next week, because it will go on for a while and there'll be more. The problem is when I open it, I'm opening Pandora's box, and yeah, but it's about how when I say I've been a sports agent and all this, I've been all around. Like I know Phil Knight who owns Nike. I can make phone calls. I know people. Actually, it's not true. I don't know. He knows me. He knows me. So, like, there's lots of things and people around the world that I've bumped into over the years. But Tiger's a completely different story. Yeah. It's basically, is sex scandals not what you think it is? Someone asked me, I was in the UK and like someone's jokingly said, "Oh, how's Tiger?" And this guy got all arsey. Oh, you don't know Tiger? Showed him his phone number and went, "Yeah, I do." And then I went on a 45-minute rant explaining about every single thing about it, because this guy was a super Tiger Woods fan. And he's like, "Oh, you don't." When I started naming his agent by name, which I'll do, because the guy's a dick, he won't care. And going through every single thing that he's like, oh. Yeah. I know. I don't say it unless I know. Yes, Matt. Dude, I think there's some better game. Like, yeah, I watched a couple of championship games the other week, and they were just better. It reminds me so much of I watched college football. Georgia Bulldogs, by the way. Georgia Bulldogs. Go Dogs. Woof, woof, woof. Watch college football over the NFL, because the college players care. They're trying to win it for their, for their college, or their university. The NFL players couldn't give a toss, and you can see that in the Premier League more and more. There's so much money in it. It's just destroyed the game. It really has done. But that's like my rant about England as well. It's like, if you can't beat these teams more than 5 or 6-0 that are basically on £2.50 a week, and you're on hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. Like, I would take one of these little national teams and go and win the bloody Euros just to show them up, just to piss them all off. All I'd need is 2 good players. Could do that. Son about to buy houses with what? Oh, I don't get you there, James. You have to explain that one to me. The Manchester Derby match day. Oh, watch it be awful. Watch it be an awful game, and watch it be settled with a penalty from VAR. Telling you now. I guarantee you, it's going to be rubbish. It's going to be funny though, because I feel like whoever loses that, the fan base is going to say sack the manager. If Pep loses, they're going to say sack the manager. If Amarin loses, they're going to say sack the manager. It's going to be battle of the sacking the managers. It's going to be a mess, absolute mess. And VAR is going to let Man City win 1-0. Watch, we'll see. All right, guys, I'll call it a night. Go to the Patreon and add stuff to the forum. If not, I will be putting it on YouTube like I did in the post sections, so you can add comments and we can get some more topics in. And yeah, we're going to try to get everyone understanding, I think, the finances behind football. Yeah, the El Sacco. Oh my God, that's a great name. That is the best name ever. Oh, I'm totally robbing that, buddy. I'm totally robbing that. You need to do a video of that on your channel, the El Sacco. The football grounds at the end of my son's. Oh, okay, now I get you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. That's really cool. That's cool. I like that. You'll be out there screaming at them how bad they are at football. Oh, that's quite funny. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you next time.